In this video, we're going to learn how to rotate our character based on our cursor position. Now, let's just go ahead to our player character, which is located in Prefab's gameplay player. And we're going to edit the player character movement. We're going to send input from the local input provider. So open up your local input provider. Now we need to send our cursor position. Now there are a lot of ways to do this. First one is using the 2D. Now first off, we need to convert our mouse position to a 3D position because mouse position is on screen space, which means they are 2D. Now to do that, we can use the physics. We can convert the mouse using camera dot screen point to ray. Now what does this do is that it gets a what position on the screen space and it will convert to a ray. Now this ray, we can use it on physics dot raycast. We can use this on here. However, in general, physics dot raycast works. However, if we are going to a raycast that there's nothing on it, it won't work. So let's say our mouse position is located in here, it will return false and we cannot send input from client to server. And we're probably thinking about resizing the floor, let's say to be 60 and 60. Well, that works, but that's just not the intended way to do it. So let's just go ahead here. We're gonna add a new input here. I'm gonna call it a vector tree cursor position. So this is a 3D cursor position, and then or we can gonna call it a raycast position. And then in here we're gonna put our input dot mouse position. I'm gonna accept a ray. And what does this ray can do is, as I said, we can populate it to the physics to the raycast, but we don't want to use that. And the alternative is using a plane, which is a plane like this. So this plane is a simple struct that is really fast. So let's construct this plane using a vector tree normal and a endpoint. Now normal is which object, which direction that it is facing. So let me just disable this floor and create a 3D object of plane. Now the normal is heading to the upper, which is vector tree dot up. When we go down, we cannot see anything. So that means we know that the normal is on the upper. Meanwhile, it also asks about point, which is here in point. So point is a what position are you? It's asking this. So by default, we can use a vector tree dot 0. So let's just do that. Vector tree dot up for the in normal, and then vector tree dot 0 for the position. And then plane has a useful functions for the ray. So we can use plane dot raycast here. So we can use this raycast, and we're gonna put our array here, and then it also gives our a parameter of float, which is called enter. So this raycast is a if, so we're gonna make it if here. And then what we can do is when array dot gets point enter. Now this may seem a little bit confusing. So what does this do is that the plane returns the distance from the 3D cursor position to the point here. And then we're just gonna convert this, and we can have a vector tree point equal to this. So this is the 3D cursor, and we can test it out using print point. So let's save, go back to Unit C. So let's just disable the plane, or we can just delete it. Go back to floor and click play. When I click run server, we have our cursor working here. So why the Y is always 0? Because the plane position is always 0. And now we have a working a X and Z position. So just clear. There we go. It all works. Now, if you want to this much clear, we can use a gizmos dot draw wire spear a point and radius, let's just call it 1F. Let's call it play. Open up the Gizmos, run server. It's not going to do anything because we have to use private void on Gizmos. So let me just copy this line here, remove the point, save, and run server. And there we go. We have our Gizmos over here. Now it's maybe a little bit difficult to look at. Let me change the color. Gizmos dot color dot equals to color dot yellow, or let's say red. Go back to Unity and save and play. Run server. It all works. The Gizmos always stays on there, so we can move our windows here so we have a much better view, and that is exactly what we want. Even though we are raycasting an empty space, that it is still exists. So let's go back to the gameplay stuff. We're gonna remove this. We don't need this anymore, and our on input stuff is already getting a little bit messy. So let's just clean this up and refactor some stuff. First off, we're gonna create a private vector2 get move axis. So we're gonna move these. We're gonna put it here, and then we're gonna return this. And it also requires a camera, which is here. Camera.main. Also, we're gonna need this. And then another thing. Oh, there's a. I'm gonna remove this namespace. We're going to create another method too. I'm gonna call it vector3 get raycast position. And then I'm gonna move this to over here. Now this also needs the camera. So I'm just gonna copy this line, put it here. And then we're gonna return the point here, return. Meanwhile, what if the raycast is failing? Well, we're just gonna return a vector3 of 0. And let's call it here, any input, don't forget to save this, and input dot raycast position equal to get raycast position, and input dot move axis equal to get move axis. Now we have done refactor this, and let's try to test it out on the game if it works or not. So we're just moving as fine, and we cannot see anything about the cursor yet. Now let's try to create the player rotation depending on the cursor position. So let's go ahead to the character movement again. So we're gonna fetch the rotation. So we're gonna make a rigid body, a dot transform dot. Now there are a lot of rotation functions we can use, but for this video I'm gonna use a rotation equal to quaternion dot look rotation. So it asks what direction are you looking at. So we're going to use this one, look rotation. We need the vector3 look direction equal to rigid body dot transform dot position minus player input dot raycast position. So this will return what the look direction. We're just decreasing the rigid body and the raycast position. So just gonna put this up, and I'm gonna add a vector3 dot up for the upwards. So this is basic input based on the character Y rotation. So let's go back to Unity, and then we're gonna add a little bit visual so we know which direction it faces. So just gonna add this and make it like this. I'm gonna change the scale a bit smaller and put it like this. Alright, and go back to Unity and click play, run server, and it seems that there's something's off, that my calculation is off. So this is reversed, should be like this. Alright, now let's go back to Unity, click game, play, run server, and everything works perfectly. And let's try to test it out using on the client build. So I'm gonna Control B, click play, run server, and this guy also click run client, moves, and also have the correct mouse position, the correct look rotation. Alright, so that's it. So let's recap what we have done. In this video, we have learned about sending mouse inputs from client to server and how to use the plain strut method without doing the basic stuff. Alright, see you guys in the next episode.